If you're feeling stuck in your ACL rehab, not knowing what to do next, or you feel like you're trying everything but things are not progressing the way you want to, this video is for you. In this video, we're gonna dive into 3P's, the 3P's of ACL rehab. It's patience, persistence, and a plan. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm a performance physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach for almost a decade. I've helped over 80 ACL individuals successfully return to their sports and activities without any injuries. In this video, I'll break down the 3P's for you and how you can implement it in your own rehab today. Let's dive in. All right, let's look at these two pictures here. We're gonna use the analogy of driving with an old paper map. If you remember back in the day, we were using paper maps. I know it's hard to believe for some of you young people, but we were using paper maps at some point. So if you look at the circle here, paper map is basically a static, when I say static, it doesn't change, right? So you have a destination that you're trying to get to. In this case, your destination is going to be ACL graduation, whether it's a sport, you want to do some certain activities like volleyball, or you want to travel and hike, right? That's going to be your destination. And this is going to be you driving in the car, trucking along in your ACL journey. So think of using an old map, right? You're using a paper map, which basically means it's static, like I said. So it doesn't change. So when you're driving along that road, whether you turn left or right, it doesn't know. The map doesn't know where you're going. It just tells you a destination, which is going to be, again, your graduation. It doesn't know if you turn left, when you turn right, right? It only knows one way. It's a very static approach, right? And so there is no adjustments because unlike a GPS, which we'll get into later, it's just telling you the destination. And so what you're going to be left with essentially is going to be maybe confusion because there's no real-time guidance, right? When I say real-time, there's nothing that will adjust to your life, to your situation. It's constantly just telling you go here, but it doesn't really tell you what to do, right? So if we mimic this or we compare this to ACL rehab, it's essentially like being told to add some squats, right? So add some squats into your routine. Maybe you've been told that you should be running or jogging at three months, right? And maybe you've been told that you should be going back to sport at 9 months. These are some common sayings that I hear all the time as a PT, is that people are told these milestones, but they don't know, they're not taught how to do it, right? They're not taught how many times to do their squats. Is it gonna be your 3 times 10? Is it gonna be, I don't know, every day? Is it gonna be daily, right? We have no idea. And so we're left with this kind of one-directional path where it doesn't give you the adjustments along the way. It is not personalized. It's very much just the same map for everybody, right? So we're all trying to get to that destination. So if we compare this to then a GPS, which we're all used to at this point in 2025. So GPS is kind of like your Google Maps, right? You're driving along. This is going to be you in this case. Driving along to that same destination. So that same volleyball, hiking, traveling, confident knees, strong knees that you want to get back to. But in this case, a GPS will always adapt. So it's adaptable to whatever scenario, whatever situation you're in. So if you make a wrong left, right, it'll tell you how to adjust from that, wherever location that you're in, right? So it's adaptable, dynamic, right, to your situation. So it's constantly giving you adaptive, dynamic plans and goals so that you can get to your destination faster, right? So what this does is it creates a more efficient approach, less headaches or less confusion, and overall just smoother, maybe faster, right? Faster, smoother, and ultimately safer because now you have constant guidance and you're not running into I said dead ends, for example, right? You're not going to dead ends without being told, oh, you should be avoiding that dead end by turning right in this case, right? So with that, I just wanted to give you guys an analogy so you can compare where a GPS is much more dynamic, right? It's more efficient. And if you use a paper map, although it does tell you the destination and it tells you certain things to achieve, it doesn't tell you how to do it, how to do how many times, exactly how it's adaptive to your life. So hopefully that analogy makes sense. And going back to the 3P's that I started in this video, it's gonna be your patience, persistence, and a plan, right? So patience is gonna be knowing when to pull or push in your rehab, right? There's certain milestones that we have to hit, like returning to jogging, quad strength over 95%, with knowing the 3P's. So the patience is gonna be knowing the GPS is gonna tell you when to go and when to stop, right? Persistence is gonna be you persisting in your rehab journey. It's a long journey as we know it. You need progressions that challenge you every single week, every single 2 weeks, right? So your body's constantly adapting and being persistent so we can achieve the goals that we want, right? The last one is a big plan, essentially. I talk about plan all the time. A plan is basically like a blueprint or a structure to know exactly what your goals are, first off, but also how your plan will adapt to your goals. So again, if your goal is going back to volleyball, then it should not look like somebody who's just trying to walk 5 miles, right? Although some things may look similar, most of the things there are going to be a little bit different. So we need a plan that's adaptive. And this ultimately will give you the clarity and confidence towards your goals. And your goal is going to be that ACL destination, right? So this destination that we all want to achieve, which is graduation. And a quick example of one of my clients, Olivia, I met her, I think maybe 12 months ago at this point, and she came to me when she was 4 months post-op. She was 4 months post-op. She wanted to go back to skiing. She wanted to play soccer again because this was her way of connecting with her friends and her family. And she was working with the physio back then, and she told me that, you know, they were doing all the things that she thought were good, but at some point at the 3-month mark, she just started to feel like she's plateaued. So she didn't know what to do for the next steps. She just realized that there was this big gap between where she was at 4 months and the skiing and the soccer that she wanted to do. So there's this big kind of gap in the middle, right? This is a very common term that we use in ACL Rehab. Big gap. So this is where she was at 4 months. And the goal was skiing and soccer. So at this point, she came to me and we basically just talked through her goals. We talked exactly what her lifestyles are like. We talked to her about the resources that she has to then succeed. So the gym equipment, all that kind of stuff. We worked for 10 months together and now she's back to skiing fully, right? And the only reason we were able to do that is because we were using the 3P's, right? So we had patience, knowing when to push, when to pull, persistence, knowing how to progress, when to progress, and overall plan, which was tailored and adaptive towards our specific goals, which were skiing and soccer. Now, if you're interested in learning how I would potentially help with your ACL rehab, I've done this over and over again. You feel free to click the masterclass link video in the description. It's free. You can access it in the description below. You'll find really good tidbits and tips and tricks on how to structure your rehab and what potentially working with me could look like. So now you know the 3 P's of ACL rehab: patience, persistence, and plan. If this video gave you some clarity, give it a like and a thumbs up and click subscribe because I'll be posting more videos like this in the future. Peace for now.